Hey, everybody, it's Monday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Fellowship of Christian Athletes Coach's Corner. Billy Graham said it best when he said one coach can impact more young people in 1 year than most people can in their entire life. At FCA, we believe the two most powerful, influential words on young people on any campus, any field, any court, in college, high school, or pro is Coach said. And in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Cincinnati Bengals facility, Coach said means something special to the defensive backs, in particular the safeties, because I know this coach firsthand, and I know his heart, and I know the impact he's having there. And Coach Robert Livingston from the Cincinnati Bengals is with us, a former Hendersonville High School player. My pleasure to have you on here, Coach. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Oh, thanks for having me. Obviously, what you're doing here is influencing a lot of people, and it's a phenomenal opportunity to be on here with you. So thank you.
Oh yeah, we always start out. I know your family. I've known them for years through my dad back before you were even in existence, and I want you to brag about them and talk about your family a little bit and talk about your children and your wife and everything, Coach.
Yeah, definitely. It's I am phenomenally blessed to have a tremendous support system everywhere in my family. I grew up with both my parents. I mean, they're the best. Obviously, they were there for me every step of the way. Always there, shoulder to lean on. Both my mom and my dad are great. And then as it grows, as small town families grow, my grandfather, I don't think ever missed a game from middle school football to, our last game in college. And phenomenally blessed to have 4 aunts that were always there, Caroline, Alice, Jenny, and Luttrell, cousins, and were always kind of pulling for me. So again, this time of year, as you get ready for the draft and you do all that stuff, I think you have to step back and make yourself realize how lucky and how fortunate you are to have people in your life that care about you and have always kind of pushed you to be everything you can be. And speaking about my family, that's really what I try to be. I am, again, blessed. It's kind of a common occurrence in my life. Good things happen to me. I'm super lucky that way. I got a great wife. She's from here in Cincinnati. 3 great kids. My son Luke is almost 5, going on about 15, jumping on everything that he can see. My daughter Emma is 3. And then we have our youngest, Savannah, is a little bit over a year. So got a head ball coach at home. That's my wife, Tricia. She's the best. She makes everything work, as you know, when you're not around like it should be and working all the time. She makes everything go. So I tell her all the time, if it wasn't for her, then this would not work. So just really blessed to have the family, to have the support system that I've had growing up and even now.
And you said it, just the little bit of coaching I did at the high school level, just having a wonderful wife at home. I know mine was, and you're exactly right. You can't do what you do if you don't have a strong presence at home. And I like to play around a little bit. Robert actually gave me this jersey when he was at Western Michigan. It's a bowl jersey. So I figured I'd wear it today and try to make it look like I'm sitting at their stadium there in Cincinnati at Paul Brown Stadium. You had an interesting background to get where you are. I know in high school, I got really frustrated trying to get you recruited. And in Western North Carolina, it's hard to get your student athletes looked at sometimes because we're in the mountains and we have a lot of small schools. And it was hard to get you recruited. And you took a different path than most people because of the desire that I know that you had. Tell us a little bit about from when you graduated high school to how you ended up in that chair where you are.
Yeah, it's again a desire to be where I wanted to be, and to be candid, the fortune to kind of have parents that believed in me and were willing to kind of let me take a chance on myself. I was in the spring, or I guess winter of my senior year, have a couple 1AA scholarships that were great, and just always in the back of your mind you wonder what else was out there. And had an opportunity to look at the prep school route, which was really just kind of another senior year, if you will. You play sports, you go to school, you do all that stuff. And my parents were great. And they said, hey, just, pick one out. Let's go look at them. So it's almost like an official visit. My dad and I went to 2 or 3 prep schools, and then finally settled on the Hun School, which is in Princeton, New Jersey. A little bit different in Hendersonville, as you can imagine. But you meet people from really all across the country. We had guys from New Jersey, obviously, guys from South Florida, guys from Virginia, and you live in a dorm and you play ball, and it was great. It was really my first experience on my own. Again, I was phenomenally blessed to have, anytime I needed anything, I had a family member there for me at the drop of a hat. And now you're, a couple thousand miles away and you got to grow up. So it was great for me. From there, ended up signing with Western Michigan. Yeah, there you go. That's and was there for 2 years. And honestly, it was, again, new experience, new everything. You have this mindset of, hey, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be a 4-year starter. I'm going to go play in the NFL. I'm going to buy my mom a car. And that's what you see on TV, and that's how it's supposed to be. And I think my 4th day at Western Michigan, I tear my ACL. So there's a year, and then you rehab, kill yourself in the rehab process, get ready to play. Before our first game, broke my hand. And okay, hey, that's 6 more weeks. So you kind of look around, and I realized, like, hey, this football stuff's going to stop eventually, but let's play as much as you can. You got the rest of your life to worry about everything else. So at the end of the year, ended up transferring to William & Mary, a little bit more my speed. I could play more. I had more fun. I don't mean to come across as, hey, school's not important or whatever, but it was a great school, the opportunity to transfer to William & Mary. It was closer to home, and I could just play. And again, I knew that the game was going to quit on me eventually, and I was just trying to play as much as I could. So, transferred to William & Mary, had a great run there. A lot of great friends. Great campus. Again, a little bit more my speed. And then after I graduated from there in the winter of '09, January of 2010. You tell yourself you got a chance to play afterwards, and obviously that wasn't going to happen. So again, family member, Mark Pace, my uncle, reached out to me and said, hey, look, I know you're trying to figure out life a little bit. Why don't you come work for me? So you kind of figure out what hard work is like again. Like, shit, this ain't for me. So actually, as weird as it is, there was a website called footballscoop.com, and the Furman University was hiring, I forget even how they worded it, essentially restricted earnings position. So it's not a lot of money, obviously. It's a free place to live, but it's a chance to coach football. And I jumped at it, and I went down there in June and was there for a year. And it was a phenomenal experience. That conference at that time was so multiple in that, you'd play Appalachian one week and then you'd play Wofford, and just the offenses were so different. And it was a great learning experience. Again, I think anybody's first job, no matter what it is when you grow the most. It's when you learn the most. It kind of cultivates who you are. The head coach at that time, Bobby Lamb, was just he's one of the best people I've ever met, cared about you. So that was a great experience. And then from Furman, I went to Vanderbilt. Again, got lucky. Football, like most things, is a relationship business. And the guy that I played for at William & Mary became the defensive coordinator. He needed some help, so I got a chance to go there for a year. And again, it's just relationships, and you're kind of forming who you are as a coach, as a leader, as a teacher, all that stuff. And then at the end of that year, I had a chance to come to Cincinnati. And again, it was a chance to kind of see behind the curtain, see who's really back there, who the Wizard of Oz really is. And I jumped at it, and I've been here. This will be my 9th season, in different capacities for sure, but just super blessed. Again, very fortunate that, every kind of step I took, you try to take something from, whether it's the people you're working for, the players you're working with, or just the environment, good and bad, how you would do things. Everybody's got their own little book on, how they see the world and all that stuff. So just so lucky to be sitting here with you today.
And I'm so proud of you. I just knew, even when you played for me as a quarterback and a safety, you just knew you were going to be a coach. I've been around a lot, and you could just tell you had everything to be a coach at that level. And we were talking before we started this interview about Western Carolina University and how they're getting a new head coach. And we spoke a little bit about the frustrations of, we have a lot of talented kids in Western North Carolina, sometimes that don't even get a look from a school 50 minutes away from them in their own backyard. And it's my prayer that Western will hire somebody that will take a look at some of the talent in our area. When you look at their signing day this year, I think they signed 20 kids, Coach, and 0 from Western North Carolina. And it's hard for me to believe we don't have at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's again, living it. going through it again, everybody is a senior in high school and they want to go to Southern Cal or UCLA or Florida State. Again, everybody lives the Twitter, everything is better world somewhere else. But, if you're a player in Western North Carolina, to have a chance to go to your regional college, your regional university, have your family there all the time. And if you're a university, again, it just makes sense. You've got plenty of talent there. It might not be as attractive as going to the Atlantas or the Knoxvilles or the Nashvilles to get kids, but it's going to mean more to those kids. And in my opinion, the more people that you have buying into a culture, again, culture is a big word in all sports, but if it means something to those guys, they're not just mercenaries coming in to get a degree and play football and then go about their way, but if they're going to live in that community, if they're going to take their kids back there one day, that should be a huge, huge selling point. So no, I think obviously Western Carolina's got a chance to make a big hire, and they can kind of set the ship forward. Coach Spear had a couple good years, and the unfortunate part of coaching is it didn't go great for him. So he's obviously a phenomenal coach and has done great things, so he'll be fine. And for the university, again, they have a chance to kind of say, okay, this is our new culture. This is who we're going to be. We're going to be proud of the players, the people in our area. We're not going to be trying to be something we're not, and we're going to get this thing going again, and we can be what everybody knows we can be, which is a phenomenal university with a small town feel, playing great football in a good conference. So it could definitely work out, and I'm hoping it does.
Oh yeah, I mean, Appalachian kind of set the standard for the small town.
For sure.
Growth of football. And I had a blast. I mean, my most memorable year in my coaching career was your senior year, and we set a record with 14 wins, and that was a lot with the history of that football team. I know your dad, he was even a tailback in the single wing and played at Clemson. And, my dad used to hang out with your granddad, Bob, all the time and tell me, one Rutledge Livingston story after another. Just kind of speak a little bit about that season a little bit, just kind of what it meant as a senior in high school. And
it's really, really special. People ask me all the time, what's the most fun or the biggest game or your memory? And, I've been blessed to play at the University of Virginia, played there twice, I guess, Florida State, big schools. But again, the most fun that I ever had was as a senior in high school, because you grew up with these guys. Worst case scenario, you were with them from sixth grade on. You knew everything about them. You cared about them. You loved them like a brother. Again, there were days you hated each other, but you kind of built it together. And in my first experience really with you, Coach, and with Hendersonville High School in general is I can remember, I don't know if people know this. So the middle school sits up, on a hill and the high school's down, and let's say it's a quarter mile or whatever. So we used to walk down there in the spring, and you'd let the middle schoolers lift weights, right? So I remember being whatever that is, a 13-year-old, you kind of walking into this weight room having no idea what to expect. And there was probably a group of 10 or 12 of us that did that. And then you go to high school, and it's just the bond, the feeling of, again, we talked about Western Carolina kind of having that culture, the feeling of being with these guys and not wanting to let the other one down. And, we were great friends, and I think that's kind of what carried us. And it's like anything, success. I think people who are successful in general, the second they get that taste, they don't want to go the other way, right? Because they remember what it's like not to win. And I've related a lot of programs that I've looked at or talked about to kind of that small town feel of, you get a group of guys that are talented, yes, but work hard, care about each other, and really are pulling each other along, that maybe they don't have phenomenal success as freshmen or sophomores, but juniors and seniors, it really goes, and they set the stage for everything else. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that my grandfather, again, who was at every game, we've talked about, a million different things from, I think we beat Maiden on like a field goal that might have got 10 feet, 1 inch over the goalpost. And I mean, it was a great year. It really was. Just guys that, again, it was just being a kid, growing up with these guys, and it was a lot of fun for sure.
Well, you sure were. I mean, you've always been that captain type, but you were the glue that held that team together. I think we might have had 20, 21 players, and I mean, you had this old convertible car. Those of you watching this in high school, he had the coolest old convertible car, man. He dropped that top down, And
Yeah.
he was taking 7 or 8 of our players home every day. And some of our players lived in an area where there was a little bit of crime. And I mean, I remember Robert's parents kept getting notifications from our
Yeah.
police department that, hey, a car registered to you was seen in a high crime area. So
Yeah.
they would call me. I was like, would you leave my quarterback alone, man? He's getting his teammates home. And that
Yeah,
was
it was,
one of my favorite memories, man. Just
there was a lot, probably one too many fit in the seats for sure. And, you know, late night getting back from those games, you know, God bless you and Coach Stanley used to drive those buses and it would be, you know, 11:30 and you've been sleeping on them. And here you go, you're driving. The convertible was really cool, minus 2 things. Number one, when you had to fill up the gas tank, because at about 6 miles per gallon, that wasn't the best. And then you had to be real careful when you got in, because if you jumped in too fast, I think we were playing basketball one time and somebody kind of jumps in. And I'm pretty sure their feet went all the way down to the ground. So it was a great car. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of great memories with those guys.
you don't still have that car, do you?
I am embarrassed to tell you that I sold it. I think my mom, God bless her, I think her final thing was like, hey, look, if you don't get this car out of my driveway, I'm going to make it into a planter. So I didn't want, you know, roses and things growing out of it. So I sold it. Hopefully it's in better hands. I'm sure it's taken care of better. And but it was a lot of fun for sure.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, that was good stuff. I really enjoyed myself. And I still see a lot of those guys. I see Momo and Tank and DJ. And DJ was our tailback, guys. And he would be a big one technique on defense now. Yeah, he doesn't look like he did in high school. And I tease him about it all the time, but
Yeah.
he's a wonderful father with his kids. He's involved in their lives. I'm so proud of all you guys.
That's great.
I've got to ask, I mean,
Yeah.
you coach where it's a business, man, that you're getting paid to play. There's no school attached to it. So this is probably a tough question for a coach that's in the NFL, but what is a win for you?
That's a great question. Again, I think there's a couple levels of it, right? So we talked about this before. I think this industry, coaching, is as much a people industry as anything in the world, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to ask somebody to follow kind of what you're saying. Again, you started this off by saying coach says, or 2 of the most important words going. And here on every level, but we're talking about here, you know, if you look at it from the analytic side of it, right? Most of these guys, all of these guys are probably making more money than you are. Some of these guys have been doing it longer than you've been doing it. And they've kind of got their own way about them. So a win to me is when you gain somebody's trust to say, hey, look, I want the best thing for you. I want you to be successful. I want us to be successful. And we're going to do things this way because this is, you know, how I think we should do it. With that being said, in my opinion, there's always some back and forth. Nothing is ever perfect, whether it's a technique, whether it's a coverage, whether it's a way to, you know, perfect somebody's craft. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to see the game different. Everybody's going to go about life differently, right? So the more you can kind of adapt and bring people along, the better. So I say that long answer to say a win to me is gaining somebody's trust and knowing that I care about them as a person more than I care about them as a player, meaning I care about who they are, who's important in their life, how can I make you a better person? And in turn, I honestly believe that'll make them a better player. So that would be a win from the personal side is gaining somebody's trust and knowing that I have their best interest at heart. And then from a team side, there's nothing, you know, this, I think most coaches are doing this just because they're junkies, to be honest with you, right? The feeling in the locker room after a win on a Thursday or a Sunday or a Monday is great. I mean, it's why you do it. I mean, it's ultra competitive. But, you know, to come together with guys that have busted their tail all week and coaches and everybody's away from their families and to win a game is really what everybody chases, is that ultimate competition to be better and to be the best that you can be, right? And a win for me personally is again trying to be the best me that I can be. How can I prepare these guys the best? How can I get them to, you know, pick up route concepts, to pick up, okay, hey, this formation usually equals this play, and then to take all that in and just play freely. So that's my constant challenge is, you know, it's not me out there on Sunday winning and losing. I tell people all the time, I'm watching the same game y'all are watching, right? I'm making some adjustments on the sideline, but everything else is the players got to go play. So my challenge each week is how can I take all the information that I want to give it to them and get it to them in a concise, easy to learn, easily recallable manner to where they can take it all in and go play fast. And I'm super blessed to have, great guys that work hard and study. And there's no, one way to do things. I mean, we have guys that have been playing the league 7, 8, 9 years. So there's back and forth, and we're always looking for the best way to go about it.
Oh, that's a great answer. Man, I want to play for you after hearing that. I mean, that would be so hard, like you said, to get that buy-in at that level. And what he's talking about, folks watching this, when he was in high school, Robert could tell you, he would watch film just like anybody else, but he lined our defense up, and he could tell you based on formation the 2 or 3 things they were going to run, and could point our players in the right direction, make sure everyone was lined up correctly. That's just how you kind of knew he was going to be a coach. Now, you talked about some of these players that's been playing forever. Talk about some of the best players that you've coached.
I got really lucky when I first started coaching here. So I came here as a scout, and it was great because you kind of got to see the other side of it. So my first year here, I just scouted the Southeast and did players, and then fast forward, 2 years, and I'm helping the secondary and helping on special teams, and really like a graduate assistant, if you will, if you want to think about it in the college terms. And that first year in the secondary, we had Reggie Nelson, we had Leon Hall, and we had Adam Jones, 3 guys that were playing at really a Pro Bowl level, and each one different for sure. And I think that's been my biggest, blessing is you meet different people along your journey, and whether it's people from Hendersonville or people I've coached here, and you kind of try to figure out how they're wired and how they go about their day and how you can make them better, again, as a player and as a person. So those would be the 3 for sure. We've had, I think Reggie went to the Pro Bowl that year in 15. Leon Hall was a great player here for a long time, and Adam made the Pro Bowl in 2015 as well. So those guys are great. Jesse Bates is a young player here now. Jesse's got a chance to be phenomenal. I think he was an All-Pro last year. Very driven, easy, even-keeled manner, and I think the world of him. So those would be the main guys. We've got another guy, Vaughn Bell, here, who's phenomenal for us. And I look at all of them. We had Sean Williams here for a long time, and I've just been so blessed to be able to come to work and not worry about everything that you would picture problems with NFL players, right? Like everybody's easy to talk to, everybody's easy to get along with. There's no divas or things like that. Again, I just get to coach ball, which is great. I don't have to worry with all the other stuff.
So Adam Jones, I mean, I know him as Pac-Man from watching.
Yeah.
Does he mind people calling him Pac-Man?
I don't know if he minds it. Adam is probably the most misunderstood person maybe in the history of the world. As he will admit to you, some of that is his own doing. Sometimes he can't get out of his own way. But Adam was great because he was at a point in his career when I came on. And again, I was like a GA, so I'm helping out here, helping out there, filling in the pieces where needed. And just to see him as a veteran player, really at that point kind of figuring out like, okay, hey, I got to study a little bit more because I can't run like I used to, or I can't do this. Again, God gave him so much ability that, eventually it's going to start to deteriorate. So at that point, what are you going to do to prolong your career? And he was a lot of fun. Again, he's an acquired taste. I'll give you that. But I love him, and he was great for me.
Oh, I loved watching him play. And did he give himself that nickname, or did?
I've never really understood it, to be honest with you. I think there's some questions that we just don't ask. That was always one of them. It was just, hey, whatever you want. Yeah, Adam, sure, no problem.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Probably a lot like old Tank that played for us in high school.
Eerily similar.
Rodney. You should. I don't know if you've ever seen his son. Rodney Smith played for us, and his son was at Bruce Drysdale with me, and looks just like Rodney. And he's a good boy, man.
That's great.
A good kid. All right, so obviously this is Fellowship of Christian Athletes Coaches Corner, and the reason you're such a great guest to be on here is because my coaching philosophy, everything I believe in coaching changed while you were there because of a man named Steve McNamara. You were there when we first started having FCA pregame meals, and Steve McNamara was doing devotions with us, and it changed the way I coached. It actually changed my life. I realized what a win for me was a lot different than before I started getting FCA involved in my program. And you were there when it was kind of the inception of the pregame meal, and Steve doing the team talks, and he would have a theme and build on it all year. Can you speak to the impact that had on you and maybe that it's had on your coaching with FCA being involved in high school on?
Yeah, definitely. Again, you talk about things you remember from high school. So we'd walk in the Hendersonville High School cafeteria, and my mom would be there, and she'd be, serving food. My sister, I think Thomas Harris's mom would be there, and a bunch of other moms. And Mr. McNamara he was just always around. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from him, even as a 17 or 18-year-old kid, was he could have a conversation with anybody, and you always walked away from it knowing that he cared about you, and you never really understood, like, how's that guy so cool, or how does he do this? But he was always the same person. It was never anything more, anything less than what you wanted. And I think that's one of the biggest traits that I try to have now is just be consistently who you are, know what you're about, know what you want in life, and go about it. So that's been one of the biggest things is obviously, treat other people the way you want to be treated, and everything that the FCA stands for, and never let it, this is the game, never let it take precedent over the things that really matter in life, right? Your faith, your family, keeping everybody you care about safe. I mean, everything, all that other stuff is so much more important. So the FCA it was huge for me. It was a way to number one, be around people that were like-minded, and then number two, to kind of learn new things, how to approach situations, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a huge help for me. Obviously, done in an easy setting. A pregame meal setting is a very easy setting. You're around your friends. It's never overbearing. I think as a high school, any kind of high school kid, the thing that the pushback is obviously you want to be a cool kid, you want to be this, you want to do all that stuff, and it just presented it in a way that everybody was together, and it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that it was easy. I tell a lot of teams I speak to, that's morphed into something special around here. Danny Wilkins is in FCA now, and I am. Danny was at Asheville High. We're doing those team talks now with softball and track and volleyball, you name it. And I always tell the kids, it's available to all, required of none. We say we're not drive-by Bibling anybody. We're not going to
say that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, so appreciate you sharing that, because you had an interesting perspective as you saw it develop. The team talks and the meals really weren't something that were around Henderson County until maybe your sophomore, junior year, and the parents stepping up. I really appreciate that. Couple more things, Coach, and I'll let you off here. So people that play football for you, Cincinnati Bengals, Adam Pac-Man Jones and those guys you were talking about, what would you hope they would say about you 15 years, 20 years down the road from now? What would you hope they would say about being under your leadership 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah, that I helped them grow as a person and be the best version of themselves. Again, this is great. This puts food on my plate, a roof over my family's head, and this is what I love. But again, this is a people business, so I hope I help them grow as a person, whether that's spiritually, mentally, however they want to be it. And that I was always the same person. Again, it's very important to me never to be too high, never to be too low, and that I was always the same guy. Again, I would love for them to say, hey, on 3rd and 7 versus Pittsburgh, he told me this play was coming, and I picked it off for a touchdown. But while that would be great, again, I think you have the rest of your life to be there. So hopefully to be a role model in some version, not somebody that they try to grow up to be necessarily, but somebody that they can try to mold their life, whether it's their family life, whether it's their professional life, things like that.
Wow, that's a great answer, and that's what we would all strive for. And I learned as I got older, when I first started coaching, I couldn't have answered that in the way that I would answer it now, because I was selfish to start with. So yeah, that's a great answer. And I hope that they do say those things about you. And if I know you, they will say
Oh, thank you.
about you 15 or 20 years from now. A couple more things I'm going to ask you. I always ask my guests on here. So we might have parents of young players on here. We might have young players on here, Coach, and they're thinking about the next level, or they're mad, or they don't like the position they're playing, or, hey, I'm going to transfer here or there. What advice would you have for young players and parents coming from an NFL coach?
Yeah. Let's start with the players. It would be always to always believe in yourself. Right? There's going to be adversity. There's going to be setbacks. Life is full of that stuff. From an athletic standpoint, from a off the field standpoint, from a personal standpoint, life is going to be full of people, number one, telling you you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or you're not fast enough, or whatever. But as long as you believe in yourself and put your head down and go to work, then at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you'll have no regrets. The worst thing you can go through life is have regrets. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. The best way I can describe it is, buckle down now, work as hard as, just be where your feet are at, and just never take no for an answer. There's a guy, Jocko Willemick, who's a podcaster and does a great job, motivational speaker. And his whole thing is, when life gives you setbacks, right? So let's say you get cut from the varsity as a sophomore, or let's say you're not as big as everybody else, or, you don't get that scholarship that, your senior year. You can look at it and you can say, oh, this isn't fair. And you can gripe about it and go down the road, or you can say, okay, good, right? Because now I have another chip on my shoulder to go to work. So every door that slams in your face, just take it as a really something good, right? Because from each downfall somebody has, something good can come from it. And I firmly believe that. Again, I'll never forget being a sophomore in high school and, not getting okay, I can go to this place or that place, but I can't go here. These people say I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to go here. And it drives you in a way that you just want the best for yourself. So that would be, in a long answer, my answer to young players is never take no for an answer, right? Always beat down the door, and just get the best version of yourself, because as much as you might want to go out and do this or do that, you got the rest of your life for that. So just be the best version of yourself, and I promise that'll be good enough. And then, for parents, again, I am, with my oldest almost being 5, I'm a little bit leery of it even now. Just, I would say, let your kids do as much as they want, right? I think personally, one of the worst things you can do to a kid is kind of pigeonhole them and put them in one sport and only let them do that. Let them experiment with football, with basketball, with baseball, with soccer. The more things they can do, the better. And, what I will always try to be, because I was phenomenally blessed to have parents that, were not the ones saying, hey, you should be playing more, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. They were just always my biggest supporter. They were always there for me. It was never, hey, why'd you miss that shot? Or how come you missed that open receiver? It was, hey, you played great. Is there anything you want to talk about? So just be there for them. That's not to say you can't be stern. That's not to say you can't coach them hard and motivate them. But I think in this day and age of cell phones and Twitter and Instagram and everything looks perfect on there. So if you're a 16, 17, even younger kid and you're watching all this stuff and everything looks perfect and I'm not that good, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, that can be a lot on kids. So to be a parent or to be a role model and just be able to say, hey, look, you'll get there. Don't worry about it. Hey, let's work on this. Let's work on that. And just be a supporter. Not to say you always have to be a cheerleader, but to be a support system for them. And I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, that's great advice to let them do everything, because I think coming from an NFL coach who's been there and done that and been in the SEC coaching, you've seen about everything you can see, and that advice is so invaluable to have on here. I always pray us out. And before I do that, you said something about the setbacks, advice to young players, and Brad Cooper, who was from Henderson County, and he's the pastor at New Spring Church now, one of the biggest growing churches in the world. He always would say, and he's on the board of FCA, he would always say at his church, a setback is a setup for an amazing comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And a setback's a setup for an amazing comeback. And, to watch you go through the steps that you did through prep school, when you had good grades, and
Yeah.
to fight to where you are is just a testament. Thanks for being on here. I'll pray us out, and then
Well, before we do that, I got to give you a shout out, and obviously this is a big high school coach shout out. So I hope you, number one, know how much that you've meant to me and really all the players. You know, we talk to these guys in the draft, and everybody talks about their high school coach, and there is no question that I would not be here without everything that you've done for me, and I know a bunch of other people can say that. So again, thank you to you personally, because this is our relationship. Thank you to all the other high school coaches out there. You do more for these kids than you'll ever know. 16, 17, 18-year-old kids are, their life can go a million different directions, right? And you're keeping them on a straight and narrow. And again, as I told you, I've been lucky enough to be around a lot of fun games and things like that, but I'll never forget, you know, our games together my senior year of high school. So thank you for all you do. And thank you to all the high school coaches out there.
Man, thanks for saying that. That
Yeah.
means a lot. Obviously, you impacted me as well, just with your work ethic and desire. And man, if anybody's watching this that owns an NFL team, this guy right here needs to be the head coach. You can tell just hearing him talk how he thinks, how he's going to treat people. We will definitely see Robert Livingston as the head coach of an NFL team. You remind me so much of a Tony Dungy, Joe Gibbs, Lovie Smith, Clyde Christensen kind of guy.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll close us out with a quick prayer, and then we'll get
Great.
off. Dear Lord, thank you so much for someone like Robert Livingston, what he means to that whole city of Cincinnati, what he means to the young men that come under his tutelage. Dear Lord, I don't think they understand the blessing they're going to receive. Thank you for what he means to us here in Henderson County. We're so proud of him. Keep using him, dear Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for coming on here, Robert. I mean, Coach.
Yes,
All right. Thank you.